Hey dudes, welcome back to another episode of our Rhomas Men's Team podcast. You are about to listen to one of our prior team meetings. If you ever want to join one of our live sessions that we have every Monday and Friday, head over to rhomas.com. That's RHOMAS.com and put your email in and we will send you a live link every time we record. We generally record on Mondays and Fridays. So if you ever want to be on the actual podcast, like we bring men up all the time to talk about their goals, talk about their obstacles, etc., head over to rhomas.com. And then also, if you want to help support the channel grow and also have access to exclusive content, book reviews, extra whiteboard sessions, etc., and some coaching sessions, head over to patreon.com and support us. We would love it. But if not, no biggie. We'll see you on the live sessions. Later, dudes. Enjoy this podcast.
We are live, dude. What up, bro?
What's up, man?
Not much, dude. Just chilling car side. How you doing, man?
Yeah, dude, I'm doing phenomenally well. Just got done a little mini vacation out in San Diego. The cool thing about living in California is I mean, it's you don't have to really go outside of it because there's so many different landscapes and there's so many different things to do all along the state. So it's ideal for just taking a quick road trip, and you're in a completely different environment, and you save money on flights, obviously, and all that kind of stuff. So it's super cool.
Yeah, it's pretty tight. You can be. I mean, obviously, there's the beach, there's the desert, there's mountains. It's pretty nuts.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's one of the few places in the world where you can go skiing and then surfing in the same day.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
yeah, it's awesome, man. And San Diego, dude, it's just gorgeous. It's very similar to Philadelphia in the sense that it's not overwhelmingly large, like a New York is, but it still has great elements of the city, pedestrian style. You know, you can walk to everything or catch some sort of transit. Which after I ask you how your day is, I'd like to hop into the transit component of cities, which is phenomenal. How was your weekend, man?
Pretty good, dude. I was like crushing the rear end of that. I was crushing the rear end. I was coming off of a whatchamacallit, sinus infection that just lasted a week, man. It finally went away. So I was able to like get out, go for a run, and all that stuff. But dude, it was last week. I just bit down on the leather strap and was like, I need to just get over this sinus infection rather than like doubling it down and fucking it up. So yeah, it was just pretty cool. I just got over that and just kind of relaxed and chilled, and I started doing I think over the weekend I'm going to finish out this month on like a somewhat more of a plant-based thing, like I was saying. So I did that all weekend for the most part, which was cool.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, that was pretty much it, man. Just chilling, relaxing, and doing family stuff, cleaning. Like I handle a lot of I try to at least handle like administrative household stuff. So yeah, just like yard projects, all that stuff I do on the weekend.
Yeah. So to your sinus infection thing, number one, super happy you're back in action fully. You're fully healed.
Yeah, I feel fine.
Okay, cool. So I guess there's something I just got done listening to the audiobook, How Not to Die. So I try to listen to or read that book, once or twice a year, just because it's so dense. But one of the main things that he talks about there is, I guess, 95% of infection is caused from, I forget what they call it, like IgA, which is immunoglobulin something or other. 95% of infections are caused by a weakness in your IgA. I'm going to get this terribly wrong, but it'll be roughly right. And there are certain foods that help reestablish that. So basically like mucus linings, like eyeball linings, all those sort of soft tissue areas. Apparently infections will find the weaknesses there, and that's how they enter the body. So increasing your IgA is super important. That's why in the green drink that we recommend to guys, mushrooms are in there. It's to basically reestablish that mucus lining, because that mucus lining is like paper thin. So you need to constantly make sure that is in full tact, if that makes sense. So just something to consider.
Yeah, no, I got to start adding the white button mushrooms. That was the thing too. I haven't been drinking the green drink for I had like a 2-week period where I wasn't drinking it, and now I'm back on it. But dude, I swear to God, if I replace my breakfast with that and have that in the morning, and then whenever I get hungry around like 2 or 3, I'll just eat then. That's huge. And I also think, dude, I think I wasn't drinking as much water, and I think when you're drinking water, that also helps kind of cut down all that mucus buildup and everything, because it kind of makes everything a little more fluid. So, but yeah, that was definitely. I didn't like trash my body, but I wasn't running on all like firing on all cylinders.
Mhm.
I also, it was funny. I was watching a video about acne, and they were talking about like specifically what causes acne from a person who had acne, for their whole like young and early adult life. Um, and he was saying it like a lot of it boils down to just like excessive sugar intake. That like saying
Mm.
like I don't know if it was the IGA or some kind of like it like when you especially it was dairy and sugar intake, but if you're taking in tons of sugar and like the like growth hormones from dairy, it's just it's like whatever that sebum, whatever that stuff is on your skin just starts producing more and more oil. And if you cut down on the sugar and like the dairy, they said that helps big time cutting out the acne. So,
Oh, I believe it, man. I mean, I don't like to admit when my mom's right, but I can tell you. I mean, Matt, you remember probably what my back used to look like, and I was
mhm.
not on any sort of like testosterone boosters or ever anything like that. I was on a whole bunch of supplements, um, and eating probably sugar constantly, milk constantly, and my back during college, like after I'm a
Mhm.
grown man, broke out all the time, like disgustingly broke out from like the base of my neck all the way down to like the small of my back, and I could tell you my mom would rag on me. She's like, I know the way you're eating is causing that. I'm like, yeah, right. Like, just
Mhm.
very dismissive of it. And then once I just got clean, just started eating more veggie, plant-based diet, like full on and not taking any supplements whatsoever. All my acne went away. I mean, I'll get the occasional pimple here and there, but nothing like it used to be.
Yeah, dude. Well, the thing they were talking about on this that I thought was kind of interesting is like the leading medical authorities still, I think it's still to this day, refuse to acknowledge a link between what you consume and acne.
Oh, dude. Well, I went to the dermatologist years ago. This is when I was in college because I was debating whether or not to go on. What was that like? That's that crazy shit that they put people on. Retin A or retinol A. No, Accutane. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So, and I apologize to anybody listening to this who's on Accutane, but I wanted to go on it because my acne was so bad when I was in high school. And that shit is apparently like crazy. You got to get blood tests, on a frequent basis to make sure everything's okay. Like that, it's just to clear up your face. And I remember going to my dermatologist who ultimately prescribed me antibiotics for my acne. His comment to me, I said, I feel like there's some sort of link between what I'm eating and when I break out. And he was very immediately said, no, there's no correlation between what you eat and your acne. And I just being more analytical, I've always been analytical. I said, well, no, like I'm pretty sure, like I'm not just
Mm.
some dinky kid just saying like, oh, I've heard this, or it's like, no, I've been using spreadsheets since the time I was as a kid. So there's some sort of correlation. So he said, no, nothing you digest can influence your skin. As he proceeded to give me a pill which you digest to influence your skin. And so I brought that up to him. I brought it up to him,
I never
you
thought
know,
about that.
oh, it's ridiculous. Like it's like very obvious to me, right? And and he said, "Oh, well, that's different." It's like, how is that different? Like, how is like obviously I understand potency levels, etc. But like you cannot get more ironic than that. Like, nope, nothing you put in your mouth will do it, but here, put this in your mouth and you'll be fine.
What did the doctor say?
About what?
That
The
when you
acne?
said that to them? Yeah, when you were like, well, what the fuck? Like, if so, I can eat a pill and
Oh,
it'll go away, but if I don't eat certain things, that has no effect.
yeah, he just said, "Oh, this is different because it's medicine." It's like, okay, like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um
They
so
do
yeah,
the same
very
thing with
very
they do the
fascinating.
same thing with dairy and congestion. They're like, well, there's no scientific research stating that dairy causes congestion. It's like, well, if I drink a glass of milk, I'm definitely congested.
Yep,
So, it's so
yep.
really I would say to people the whole point of I think this thing is like really really be careful with, that the whole thing of like, well, the established science blah 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 is this, and it's like, well, if you look into it,
Mhm.
a lot of it's the studies were done by the Dairy Farmers Association, or like with the acne stuff, a lot of the acne studies are the research is done by the manufacturers and people who develop the products themselves. So the studies will show all this has great effects, but the effects only last for 6 weeks, and then your body just adjusts itself, and it like you can use the cream, it'll work for 6 weeks, you'll get the results for the study, but the study doesn't tell you after 12 weeks that the cream's useless.
Oh yeah, man. Well, so that's why I really love nutritionfacts.org. That is done by Dr. Michael Greger, and I know Matt, you and I talk about it all the time on this podcast. But I swear, like that, every single time I hear some sort of nutrition information, I go to that website because that is the only website that I know of. I'm sure there's others out there, This guy's been doing this for now, geez, I don't know, for decades. I don't know how long his website's been around, but he will go into the studies and in a very concise video show you. So, okay, here's what the studies show. And also here are the other studies that counterbalance that information. But look, I will show you right here. It's funded by the Coca-Cola company or something like that. And then he also says, look, what a lot of times, like, big food tries to do or big pharma tries to do is they try to create, all they have to do is just create confusion, just to create enough doubt in your mind to say, oh yeah, that's not true. Because at the end of the day, like, you want to hear how it's better to drink Coca-Cola than not, right? Like, it's that whole quote, people love to hear good news about their bad habits. So it doesn't take much to put it out there. But that's why I say, and you say, it's like, just try it. Right, like if you don't believe it, or if your friend's friend told you that, oh no, there's a study that shows that that drinking Coke or drinking wine is good for you. It's like, okay, how about this? Just try not doing it for a week, and then tell us how you feel, right? Because that's inevitably what ultimately what I had to do. Like, for my back to stop breaking out, it's like, okay, well, what if I just tried it? Stop doing the supplements, stop doing all that stuff. Boom! All of a sudden, within weeks, it was years of problems, and then within weeks, gone.
Yep. And then typically too, it's like if you really, because I was like, this thing was like 2 hours long. It's kind of fascinating, but a lot of times if your skin is breaking out like that, chances are, and it's not always, but there's sometimes your liver can be stressed, because your liver is what's supposed to detoxify your body, and if your liver's overwhelmed, it's like, all right, well, we'll just use your skin now. And your skin.
I believe it.
So either way, the whole point of it right now is like we're kind of drowning in information, and I think a lot of us forget. I do this all the time. I'm like, oh, I need to Google this thing. I need to find out. Oh, what is this? And I've like recently kind of stopped and like, well, I'll just do it and see,
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of, right now, I'm not doing it yet. I'm still going to do a couple other things for Psychnol first, but I really, really am going to do a really extensive deep dive into the effects of the internet on all things like health, mental well-being, all of that stuff. And, see like the rates of internet/smartphone addiction, because I think it is like I think it's bad. I think it's kind of warping people's perception and behavior in a way that I think so many people are doing at once. They're doing it at once that people don't even realize, but that's the mission coming up.
Well, I just talked to my buddy over the week or on Friday, and great guy. And Matt, you know him really well. One of the smartest guys I know, and really stand-up guy, morals, values on point, etc. And he said the biggest thing that he and his wife are trying to work through right now is her being on her phone constantly. And they just had a kid, and he's a very successful guy, and she's a great woman too. But he said that's their number one problem, is that when he comes home from work, it's just phone, face down on the phone, and then watching TV for hours every single night. And oh man, if you've ever experienced that, that is just a brutal way of living. Like, if you're not into that and you would actually want to relate to somebody or read a book, advance your knowledge, or have a partner who's with you on that journey, and they're just watching TV or have their face down on their phone the entire time, that is brutal way of living, man. Brutal way.
I genuinely think in 15 years it's going to be looked at like people looked at smoking cigarettes in like 1910. Like, it's going to be like, because there's no fumes coming off it, there's no this, there's no that, it's not giving you emphysema, but I think it's but dude, if I go to take a pee, my phone's out while I'm peeing. I start to pull it. It's like, and I start to go like, why am I doing this right now? And I'm like, don't do this. And there's another part of my brain that's like, just check your email again. It's really bizarre, dude. But it's like, at least I'm able to kind of like not be fully immersed in like curating a whole other kind of like social media life where it's like, well, let's take a picture of that. I try to keep that relatively like very, very small. But yeah, dude, it's bad. It's bad. I think it's a very bad thing, and it's just like I'll go on Twitter to share this, and I have to like get off immediately. Like, I went on Twitter for 5 minutes to share this link, and was immediately informed that like Madonna had taken Madonna took an online in a moment of reflection. That was like the title of it. She just like shared pictures of herself in lingerie. People are fighting. There was like a video of a Vietnam vet having his window smashed out by counter protesters, and then there was like another thing of like some recording artist released a single of like them giving the lap dance them giving the devil a lap dance, and it's just stuff designed to fuck with you and be like, oh my god, and it's like, Dude, it's really bad, man. It's a bad thing that people are centering their day around.
Oh, well, plus, I mean, Gunther just said in the comments, I can kind of see the comments over here on the right. Gunther just said that and Gunther, I hope you don't mind me saying this out loud. He said that was one of the main reasons that he and his ex broke up was because she was constantly on social media, TikTok and all that kind of bullshit. And man, like if you dissect it, if you look at just the number one, the raw attention it takes away from the relationship. Let's just talk about social media and relationships. It takes attention away from the relationship. And then my girlfriend and I actually talked about this over the weekend. It's like I would rather go and do the things than watch and get good at those things than watch other people go and do the things and get good at them. Like I don't understand how it doesn't make sense. Obviously, it's way easier to watch somebody dance. It's like, well, why don't you just go learn to dance? If you're so fascinated with dance, why don't you just go learn to dance? Or if you want to look like a certain way, why don't you just go out and try to build your body to look that way? But then also when you think about it, man, and I don't know, it's probably true for guys too, but I've seen it for girls. Like when the girls are posting pictures, if your girlfriend or your wife is posting pictures in a bikini and doing all like just constantly, and she's getting DMs all the time from just like random dudes, do you think that's the most healthy thing in the world? And again, I'm assuming it
Sure.
happens on both sides. So is that healthy? Like, does that help the relationship? That's just insane to me. Just absolutely insane to me how much people are immersed in social media.
Yeah, man. No, for real. And it's like the one of the things that I think is the most kind of addictive part of it is it's kind of like people used to kind of have jobs, work them, come home, do their thing, hang out with friends, and now it's like it opens a portal to where you're like, no, I think I could be famous. I have 400, I have 1,000 followers. All I need is that one big video to go viral. So everyone's kind of playing like this weird life lottery on their phone. And it's like the thing that gets the most attention is typically the most kind of, let's say, what's like worst for people to consume, which is just kind of like more of like kind of like hyper emotionally charged, unthinking, one-sided spectacle stuff of just like, angry rants, one-dimensional rants that feed into like a, not really the thing. If you don't take the complexities of an issue and you just dive in one-sided, you'll get more traction that way. And that's something that's reinforced and, pushed where I think we're all being simultaneously radicalized in like 9 different directions. And it's based on just bullshit. That's the worst part.
Yeah.
Like you have always people like, I'm this, I'm that, this person's that party, I'm this party. And everyone's like doubling down on their little information dumps. And it's like, dudes, this is total fucking bullshit, and nothing. It's like nothing's getting done. Like the phrase you use, "move the needle," I think is good because it's like, what are you actually doing? It's like, well, I shared all this stuff and I'm raising awareness, and it's like you're not doing it. It's just resulting in people like smacking each other with fucking like bats and trash cans over like shit that like someone just wrote that might not even be true. And it's like, if people, like you were saying, put like 1/10 of that time and attention into actually going and doing a thing. Like you were like, whether that be dancing or especially for all these people who are so worried about social justice and all this stuff. It's like, well, go fucking work at a soup kitchen, man. It's like, how does getting more Twitter followers help you do it? It's just whatever. I'm not going to keep bullshitting about it. But I will say to people that the thing I'm going to do in April, I haven't decided exactly what it is yet, but I'm making a hard decision whether or not I want to completely delete all of my social media. Because I use it for work and it is helpful, but like, I'm going to see if I can figure out a way to go without having it at all because I don't like it.
Yeah, and I think that's where, like anything else, like, it needs to be differentiated. It needs to be compartmentalized. Social media can be outstanding for certain things. Like what we're doing, you can have conversations, you can listen in on conversations with people who can, all of us collectively can learn from each other. I put that in a different bucket. I think what I'm talking about with social media is like the mindless scrolling and looking at girls in thong bikini, whatever it is, right? Like that your brain, part of your brain is saying like, dude, like, are you really making progress right now? Or are you just trying to find a way to mindlessly spend your time? Which, by the way, that's fine. Like I don't think there are good things, good benefits that come along with just like decompression. I do think there's healthy ways of doing that and unhealthy ways of doing that. So, but if that's supposed to be, let's say, an hour a day, and you're letting it bleed into 6 hours a day, because this is what that guy, my buddy, said. He said that he pulled up his wife's phone and they looked at it together, and she was on her phone that day for 6 hours. Yeah. Now, if she was reading a Kindle book, that's a different story. But she wasn't reading a Kindle book. it's on Instagram, it's on TikTok, it's on all these separate things. It's like that's not the same thing as trying to do some research or trying to listen to a long form podcast where they're having discussions on certain topics. Yeah, so like I think Joe Rogan's long form discussions, man, are outstanding. Like I don't consider that to be
Hmm.
a waste of time by any means. I mean that's moving the needle for, let's say, my knowledge, or listen to an audiobook, et cetera. So I think there's definitely healthy ways of using it and unhealthy ways.
Yeah, for sure. It's just the problem is here's a tough part is like they're designed so like, and I'm talking more about like Instagram, social media, like
Hmm.
watching YouTubes and stuff. Although YouTube can also degenerate into kind of like an insane habit, but like I like to go on Instagram and talk to people. Like people hit me up and talk about stuff, and that I like that. And then it's like it's almost like a subconscious shift. Like all right, I'll answer all the messages and talk to people, and then I'll just go, oh, there's my friend, and you start to. And next thing you know, it's like you're scrolling and
Yep.
blah blah blah, and it's like what the fuck am I doing? So yeah, I really am trying to figure out a way to you know use the tool. Like I said, use it as a tool or use it as personal enjoyment. But when you try to do both, it's like it's easy. It's easy to start using it as a time waster without even realizing that you're doing that. That's why I always keep on my I get screen reports that tells me how long I'm on my phone like weekly, and it gives me averages. And dude, it's like you'd be shocked, man. Even like I
Oh
use
yeah.
it pretty lightly. I don't use it that much, and it's like you'd be shocked how much you're on it. And it's like Jesus Christ.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I used to use one of those too, but I found that the data, it wasn't compartmentalized enough for me, segmented enough, because it quantified, like for instance, if I had listened to a Joe Rogan podcast, right,
Hmm.
it said all of a sudden now it's 3 hours on social media, but
Yeah.
that to me is on the good side. Um, so yeah, very very fascinating stuff. But if you can, I think one of the exercises I did was to get myself weaned off of social media, and I've never really been a heavy user by any means. Um, but instead of checking my phone every time, like I had a free 10 seconds, instead of doing that, I deleted Instagram, I deleted Facebook off my phone, and instead of that, I just read a page of a book. Like I pulled up
Hmm.
my Kindle app on there, and man, that was infinitely more beneficial to me than seeing, what the next, what the next bodybuilder was putting up on his IG account.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I do think you're right, and I think the real solution to it, and again, if whether or not people want to do this is up to them. Um, but just having a time of day, and that's the only time the day you check that stuff. If it's on,
Yep.
if your social media thing if you leave that to your own impulses, it will be, in my opinion, it will be bad. If you can figure out like, all right, that's the last thing I do from like 6:30 to 7 o'clock. I go check all my stuff and look at stuff, and then as soon as the timer goes off, I'm off. I feel like you almost need it because it's kind of engineered in a way that draws your attention. So you're gonna need
Yep.
almost like a like when people go to gamble and they have someone who like pulls them away. It's like you kind of need that just to establish a routine. And then, like I said, I deleted my Facebook, and that was something that like once I did it, I was like, it was almost like I was like, oh my god, because I was like, I don't know, maybe it'll be weird. I was like, that was fantastic, and now I have one just to like join groups and like do stuff, and I literally don't ever go on it. Um, but yeah, that was pretty much it. Because again, especially when you have a family, dude, it's like if you don't think about how you're using your phone, chances are your whole family will be sitting there on 20 years from now, and some Thanksgiving, all staring at their phones, not talking to each other. Which is
Yeah.
that's what I'm talking about. Like it's not like smoking cigarettes. It's different and it's subtle, and it's
Mm.
it's pretty nuts.
Well, I'm sure you've probably been a part of groups, and I've definitely been a part of groups that do that.
Yeah.
Where it's like you go out to dinner, it's like, why the hell are we even here together? Because everybody's looking at the damn phone.
Yeah. So either way, it's just something to think about, dude. I think it's something we're in the middle of that we don't really realize what it is. But I think if people can get a head start on like really getting a handle on how they're using this kind of technology, whether it's to their benefit or not, really,
Mm.
and then taking the necessary steps to make sure that it is. I think that'll be something like 10 years from now, people will be like, "Damn, I can't believe you did that." Because
Mm.
I think we're gonna have a pretty rude awakening about all this stuff. We are having one now, but I think it'll be, you know, kind of like not a do or die moment, but people will really kind of decide like if they're gonna just continue. It's almost like drinking. It's like everyone drinks in college and it's fun and everything, but you have to make a decision at some point. Am I a heavy drinker or not? And that's almost like the thing.
Right.
Most people, I feel like maybe because I'm from an Irish family, but I feel like you drink or you don't drink. And it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
either
Yeah.
you're on your phone or either you're a person who pulls your phone out every free second you get or you don't. And so
Yeah. No, I completely agree, man. Um, dude, can I switch gears real quick? I
yeah,
got to
yeah,
get this off my
absolutely.
chest. For those of you who have never tried buzzing around on those little scooters in a city, I'm convinced it is the only way. It is the best way to go and see a city. My girlfriend and I spent the weekend in San Diego, and I was very hesitant originally when I first got exposed to those scooters. I was like, "There's no way I'm going to do that. I'm going to look like such a nerd." And then, dude, like now every single time I go to a city, I hop on one of those things. It's just phenomenal. It is just absolutely phenomenal. Particularly if you ever have a chance to get in like a Southern California city like San Diego, it's just a great way of getting around. But it's very fascinating. The reason I bring it up is because it made me very present to the idea of renting commuters on a real time, immediate basis. Like if you look where our economy is going, I would not be surprised if that's eventually what we do with cars. And I think that could probably happen sooner rather than later. Like instead of you owning a car, and this is not my idea, I've read this in many different places. Instead of you owning a car, you just pull up on your app that, hey, I want to hop into this probably autonomous driving car, and I'm just going to take it from here to there. But you never own the car, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I think that's coming. I think you're right. I think it's coming sooner or later, especially in Philadelphia. Like we just don't, we have too many cars here, and the city was built in the 1800s. So, like if you go to Center City now, it's just like a ridiculous traffic jam, and so it's like, yeah, I think that's coming for sure. I really think the entire landscape's going to change like drastically in 20 years, like big time drastically. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you look, oh sorry, go ahead, please.
No, please go ahead.
If you look in Chandler, Arizona, have you ever heard of the company Waymo?
Yeah, I don't know what they do. I've heard of the name.
Yeah, so autonomous driving cars. They already have them there. Like you can
Really?
go to Chandler, Arizona, go on an app, order an autonomous driving car, and it comes up to you and it drives you wherever you want.
Damn. Well, here's something I think, and I think this is kind of related. I was talking to one of my friends this weekend. I hadn't talked to him in a while, so I just sent them a text. And they were just kind of like, yeah, I'm overwhelmed. And I was like, well, what's going on? They're like, well, everything. Like, why? How would I not be? Wow. And and it's one of those things where it's like, all right, it's like. So I was kind of talking a little bit, and it's like, I mean, I feel like people think they're, and I'm not using this in like a derogatory sense towards that person. I think we all have that. But we're entitled to this like completely frictionless existence, and it's like, dude, that like. I think it comes from the whole like age of modernity with like the 50s and the idea of like suburbs and. Like there's just a factory and I go there and people subsidize my life and everything. That's like such a small blip. Like you've said this before, that's such a small blip on the, like, if you go for the span of human history and what we've dealt with, the idea you can just walk to a place and mindlessly sit there and then have people feed you and support a family. That was like some weird fantasy we stumbled onto, or maybe that's going away. And it's also one of those things where it's like, I mean, I know it sucks and it's so easy to say when I'm not like someone unemployed and I don't have 2 pennies. Like I totally get that. But in the large scheme of things, it's like to just sit here and just be like, make that happen again. Somebody make that happen for all of us again. Like, I mean, dude, you can do that if you want, but there's also like I don't know if you ever heard of cargo cults. There's like these indigenous people who like saw airplanes for the first time and like they would drop them like food shipments. And so now they thought it was like a god. So now they just sit there and wait for these planes to come and drop them food and rations again. It's like, so it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, like when people say like, oh my God, the world's absolutely ending, this and that. It's like, dude, it's like, I mean, it's literally ended biologically a bunch of times, not like humans, but like we've been wiped out pretty badly multiple times by natural disasters. So it's like, I don't think so at all. It's like, we're definitely going through something, but I don't know, man. There's like a switch. You can adopt that whole like, oh, the world's shit. It's all fucked up. It's going to hell. Or you can just be like, well, no, like, what am I trying to do with my life? And I feel like if you just do that, it's just so unnecessary life's hard enough without convincing yourself that like the world's ending when it's really not. Like, it just isn't. Like, we're definitely dealing with some bullshit right now, but like, dude, compared to it, and I think this is why people like a lot of times had that whole idea of like talking to ancestors and staying in touch and knowing what people dealt with, before you, because it's like, dude, it's just not that bad. It sucks right now, of course, what's going on, but like, it definitely can be worked through and moved through, man. This isn't like people tossing us into camps and cutting our heads off and shit. It's just like, it kind of sucks right now. But
dude, look at what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Or of course, there's always going to be data that supports the negative side. But if anybody's going to sit here and tell us or tell me that on a net basis we are worse off, I would say they're crazy.
Yeah.
I would say they're crazy. Like, you know, you don't. And again, that comes down to that book called The Rational Optimist. If anybody's confused about this issue, go and read that book. Like, it'll put very quickly in perspective how just a couple of generations ago, even kings and queens, the successful birth rates, right, or like keeping your children alive through the age of 5 was massively, the probability was massively smaller than it is today. Basically, we borderline have in America, we borderline have a 100% successful birth rate. Like it's almost that close. Versus before, it was like 50%.
Yeah.
That's insane, and that's for the richest people in the world at that time. To try to make an argument that we are worse off in the past, in my opinion, that is an ill-informed, heavily emotionally biased argument. Like, yes, do we like? I find that most of the time when I have that conversation with people, they'll bring up like, oh, social media is a tyranny of the world. It's like, okay, you do have more options now. So yes, that does mean you have more options to hang yourself with. Absolutely. But those are just options. You don't have to do that. You can take advantage of our medical advancements and not take advantage of social media, right? Like it's your choice. So yes, it does put more decision making on your own shoulders. But the fact that you have those options is insane. Dude, you don't even have to work. You know how wild that is? Like to tell our ancestors that, oh, if you want food, you don't have to work. Like, you can just sign up with this thing called the government and they'll give you food stamps and you can eat. And a caveman will say, like, what do you mean? So there's like, does this government thing go chase after the elephant to kill it? Like, I don't understand, right? Like, we can't comprehend how difficult it was for our ancestors. Yeah. So it's like, I see that as a call to action. It's like we were all dealt the best hands we possibly could have. It taken within the scope of relative human history. It's like, take advantage of it, man. It's all here for us. We already have the resources that we need.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's the big thing too. It's like, because the problem is there is a real kind of pain in having like no idea what to do with yourself, no conceivable way or guidance forward. But it's one of those things where it's like, okay, that sucks, and you know the reality of that does suck to experience. But it's like, so you're telling me people crossed oceans on boats, fought wars, died, had famines, and then you're gonna get here and be like, I'm bored, man. It's like, fuck, man. I catch myself doing that, and it's like,
yeah,
you know, people had to scale, you know, walk across deserts, cross countries, fight bears, all kinds of crazy shit, and you're just like, I don't want people to make fun of me on the internet, and it's like, what the fuck? Like, when you zoom out like that, it's like, what the fuck are you doing, man? You know, and then then with the internet, it becomes a whole thing, like anything judged as somewhat genuine and kind of like non-ironic becomes like, oh, that's this kind of things and blah blah blah. And it's like, dude, it's such a waste of your fucking time. It's like, just literally there's things in my experience, there's little things inside me that are telling me to do stuff. Like, I get urges towards things that I go like, you know, staring at my phone. After I do that, I feel, like, why did I do that? That sucks. Like, record write the scripts and record for Psychnol and do all that stuff. I do that. I feel awesome. So it's pretty easy to decide what to do. It's just like, can you make it through the thing where, like, is it judged as weird? Is it judged as this? Can you pass through that? Because this is the funny thing about doing stuff online. You do a thing. You have one person tell you it's awesome. You have another person tell you it sucks. So you're ultimately left with where you started. You try to do things and you want this external validation, like, to show you the way forward. And then you get conflicting validation. You just have to pick. So ultimately, it really is up to you whether or not the thing you're doing is meaningful, blah, 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 blah. So I think that's kind of something that's super helpful in realizing, like, dude, you know, you can do things and wait for the pats on the back, but you're at a certain point, you're going to get both. You're going to get people poking you and saying stop, and people being like, this is awesome. And it's like, it just ultimately rests on your shoulders. Like, well, does this feel right to me? Okay, then I'll keep doing it. And it's like, you know, I really don't want to rant, because the funny thing about all of this, none of this matters unless you are able to take control of your time and regiment your day toward the things that you really want to do. You know, we can sit here and talk all day, and I think this is like, Wes, I think you've helped me with this tremendously. It's like, you can sit here and, you know, wax poetic all day. What'd you get done today? Do you even know what you want to get done today? Like, dude, I have to remind myself every single day. And it's like, when you link that structure with meaningful goals and you just try things out, maybe you do one and say, yeah, you know what? That sucked. I don't actually care about that. That's fine. Now you know. But it's like, it's so fucking simple, man. Pick something that's calling you, work towards it. Oh, I'm scared. I'm nervous. What if this happens? Shut the fuck up and do it. Doesn't matter. I
Hmm.
assure you, your head's not going to explode, or you're going to
Yep.
be like eaten alive by animals. You'll be fine. So,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it reminds me of one of the things that, well, two things. Number one, as men, my personal hypothesis is we have this internal calculator that calculates how productive we're being, regardless of whether or not you like it. Like there's something in the back of our minds as men. It's like it's telling us to be productive, to go and create, to do things, like to actually push forward. Um, Whether or not you want to agree with that or not, that's just my personal belief. So when you go down the route of being a philosopher of laziness and how you can just skate by or how everybody else is damning you or keeping you down, that's certainly one way you could go. But I have found that when I've done that for brief periods of time, even if it's just for a day, I find that I kind of feel like icky about it. Like I feel like it's like I'm making excuses. Like it's just that's just how it feels to me. Or you can go the other route and say, you know what? I'm flawed. I suck shit at a lot of things. I'm not good at this, but I would like to be good at it. And then just go try it. And maybe it's not the Tony Robbins version of like you're going to become the master of the universe in a year. I'm not saying that's what he claims, but like it's not the
sure,
typical
sure.
self-help stuff. Maybe it takes you 20 years, but that first step, man, that feels good. Like there's just something there for me. It's like, oh man, like well, yesterday I tried the path of laziness and I felt shitty from it, and today I made the tiniest little micro step and I fucked up on that step, but shit, when my internal calculator was doing the calculations at the end of the night, I feel good. It said, oh, I actually moved towards my goal. And there's just something there. Like as men, we just have something there. And it reminds me of when Delco Jim talked, months ago about how he said that he was kind of like not brainwashed, but almost like he was hanging out with people who just weren't supportive of goals and so on. He kind of felt himself being pulled in that direction. All of a sudden, he removed himself from those people, or at least as much as he could have, and now we started hanging out with people who are on board with goals. And you can ask him how good he's felt about it. Is the road easy? No, fuck no, it's not easy. But it's way more emotionally easy long term because you actually feel like there's some substance to your soul.
Yeah, and I honestly feel like, in a larger context, it's kind of what the world demands from everybody to take that, call it path A, path B of being like, goals. Yeah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, cool. You do that, live your life. I'll see how if we somehow died next to each other, I'd be curious how our death experiences went if that was your, thing, and I was trying to do meaningful things all day, or at least as much as possible. But it's like people bitch about the world. Oh, the world's going to hell. The world's going to hell. But I should, for some reason, while this happens, sit on my ass and cry about it and just wait for somebody to fix it. It's like, even if it's not, you don't have to like go into the streets and like, do whatever. But it's like, just by reorienting yourself away from the spectacle, away from the nonsense, the hypercharged emotional bullshit online. And like I said, the world's going to hell. Well, there's some people who don't even read the news and they're just hungry. Go to a soup kitchen and hand out soup. And I get you'll take your mind off all the bullshit. You're also doing
Yep.
something good. And then just try to apply little to little. Like, well, I want to get into woodworking. Go fucking do woodwork. It doesn't matter, dude. Anything you
Mm-hmm.
do where you're actually working and using your brain other than just ogling a thing where that's like designed to fucking just hit your little pressure points mentally is just a vast improvement. And I do think if people can just kind of like, not like you were saying, Wes, not everyone has to take over the world. It's like, just get yourself outside all Saturday and get away from a screen. Can you, try that? And it's like, like, it's almost like we're so used to being like eaten by tigers and all this shit that like, taking a small personal risk seems like so much bigger than it is. And it like I can tell you from experience, it just really isn't at all.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that I love about this group is there's a major barrier to entry psychologically if somebody has not been goal setting, right? Because like it's like, oh well, yeah, it sounds really good, and I'm gonna go do it, and it's like, oh shit, well, how do I do it? Well, I can tell you the quickest way is use our scorecard or use something like it, right? Because that will give you 11 goals immediately that you can just start working on that are universal, in my opinion, to all men, right? So it's like if you're getting hung up on the what goals should I create, go download our scorecard or talk to somebody who has some good habits and just mirror those. And all of a sudden that will give you a sense of progress. Like you can start on that today. Like one of the things on the scorecard is drink a half a gallon of water. Boom. Why? Because hydration, like you talked about earlier, Matt, is just phenomenal for your body. Right? Like, go get some good sleep. So ironically, one of the things on the scorecard that you can make a ton of progress on is doing nothing, going to sleep. Right? Like that's as easy as it could possibly get. Go to sleep and sleep for 8 hours. Those types of things, man. And then you get this momentum. Like, inertia is a real thing. There's a positive side of inertia. There's a negative side. Get on the positive side of inertia, and you'll be amazed at what you can accomplish. I still am amazed. And you and I talk about this stuff all the time. It's like, there's so many times in my head where I'm like, I don't want to do it. Or like, oh, this is going to be boring. And then I do the thing. I go to the yoga class, or I go to the workout, or I sit down for a 2-hour time block. I come out on the other end of that thing. It's like, wow, that was every bit as worth it as I thought it would have been, except for the hour before that I was just having a pity party for myself.
Yeah, man. I mean, dude, that's and you're right, dude. We do talk about this all the time, but it's one of those things that I feel like needs to be like I need to repeat this to myself constantly, where it's like, this is the thing that blows me away. It's like, so I'll sit there, say I'm struggling one afternoon. It's like, say it's a Friday. I'm like, well, I have a sinus. This is literally during the last week. Well, you have a sinus infection. You got to relax. Blah, 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 blah. And I look at the stuff I consciously set out to do every morning. I wake up, meditate, write in my journal, and then list, I have things that I want to do this week. And then I break that all down to daily things. And if I start it, that gets a yellow highlight. If I finish it, that's green. So I'm seeing the psych. I have to write the script for the new psych null thing. And I'm like, let me just sit there again, time block. I think it was a half hour, an hour. Let me just at least start this thing. And just as I did that, I wrote a thing that now, I'm still really figuring out how to like totally format it, how to format like the psych null thing. And as I'm writing it, an idea clicks to me and I'm like, oh shit, this would be another funny kind of element to add to it as well. So I come up with a whole new idea with what to do. And the thing I wrote, I really enjoyed. And it's like, there was the thing that happened. Imagine it, and it's such a small little thing, dude. It's like to not be the decision between not doing a thing and doing it doesn't seem like much, but then when you do a thing, you're like, damn, what if I never did that? I wouldn't have thought of that, and like, how would that affect in my life? And then what if I don't do that thing 10 times a day over the course of a lifetime? It's so insane how like, and this is going to sound very corny and almost like it should be like a poster on a guidance counselor's wall. But like how
yes.
how close in grasp the life you want to live is, all you have to do is just do those things and like just switch things up a little bit differently. And it's like all you have to do is just do a thing. And all of a sudden, like, you created something. Now there's a whole thing that didn't exist before. And it's like, it doesn't seem like much when you exercise for the first time. I went for a jog, like nothing changed, obviously. But like, dude, do that over the course of 2 years. Now you can go do things. Now you can go, you're on a date. The girl wants to rock climb. You're not like, oh, I haven't fucking like got my heart rate over 80 beats per minute in 5 years, so I don't want to rock. It just opens up things, and it's like, it's just, to me, it's amazing how, a lot of it is just fucking attitude, man. I say this all the time, having a bad attitude is like carrying a turd in your pocket. If you have a negative attitude, you can be as good as you want at whatever you want, but you have a fucking turd in your pocket. And people will be like, hey, man, I'm good. Like, I'm cool. You stink. And it's like, dude, it's so fucking important, man, just to switch that attitude. And it's like, yes, there's bad stuff going on. Yes, there's stuff that sucks. But you cannot focus on that. Not in a way that's like where you're like totally ignoring all the bad stuff. But you can acknowledge it and move forward, even if it's just an inch. And you will feel better moving forward an inch than sitting and not doing anything, no matter what. I think that's a universal like truth.
Yeah, I completely agree. And man, there is something to creating. I swear, man, Delco Jim was just talking about in the comments how he now has a sense of purpose because he's doing stand-up comedy. There is, I think as men, we are all creators. Like, we are meant to create things. And I sincerely mean that. It doesn't matter what it is. And whether it's Delco Jim or you, Matt, creating stand-up comedy, it doesn't matter. Or some of the guys creating their own fire pit in their backyard. There is just something to creating and giving it that value to other people. There's just something about it, man. And whether you're using the internet, it doesn't matter. But like, the next stage of doing the universal habits of drinking water, getting exercise, is just go and try to create something. I think, unfortunately, what's happened in the workforce is so many of us are just doing administrative stuff for somebody else, right? Or some other company. We don't have an emotional attachment to that. There's no creation part of it for us. It's like, pick a little side project, set a timeline, get it to 80% by that timeline, and ship it out and give it to somebody. It doesn't matter if it's, Butterly talking about creating a pie. It doesn't matter what it is. Like, get back into creation And who gives a shit how good it is? Like, just the process of creating something is something you should get back to, all of us, every single one of us.
Yeah, man. Dude, I couldn't agree more. And it really, like you were saying, it doesn't matter. It honestly doesn't matter how it stacks up to anything or well, this person's that. Like, dude, I remember when I quit stand-up comedy, I would take breaks all the time. You go back and you're like, oh, man, these guys have been doing it for longer than me. I think I missed that. It doesn't matter, man. You get back into the swing of it and you're like, oh, that was some weird thing in my head and, I'm totally fine. But it's like, it doesn't matter. That's the thing people do. They do a thing, they start comparing it to other people, and they go, oh, well, mine sucks and I shouldn't be doing this. And it's like, dude, you tried it once, man. You're comparing yourself to someone who's been doing it for 10 years every single day. I have to do this with writing all the time. I'll read a novel and be like, God damn, I'll never be this good at writing. But it's like, you can think that way, or you can say, okay, let me keep going and keep trying to get better and better and better. And that's all that matters, the fact that you're doing the thing. That's literally it, man. And you find the thing that sucks up your attention to the point where you're not thinking about whether or not you should be doing that thing. You know what I mean? Like, if you're listening to your favorite song, you're not like, am I wasting? No, you're totally engrossed in your favorite song. There are things you could do that engross you as well, and you just have to find them. It's that simple.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And Gunther is saying he really enjoys cooking. That's a perfect example. Like, your creation could be your lunch. Your creation could be the dinner. But, dude, isn't it so cool when you go and you talk to somebody? Like, I guarantee I have not had the pleasure of eating one of Butterlee's pies, but I'm going to assume that one day I will. And when that happens, I'm going to enjoy that infinitely more than if I just got a pie at the Acme or at Ralph's. I'm gonna imagine, and especially if I got to eat it in his presence, where he got to tell me the narrative of maybe how he started making pies. Like, there's just a whole like texture of experience that comes along that increases the value in my life. And he loves it. Like, every time I talk about making this pie, he loves making this pie. So it doesn't matter if it's as small as a pie or if it's as large as creating a company. It doesn't matter. Like, just create shit.
Yep, dude, I couldn't agree more, man. And I do think the one thing, and I think it's we're almost hitting 12, but or we're all over 12. But the thing I think that fucks people up with creating stuff is that everything's been widgetized, where it's like, say you want to sing. Well, I'm not as good as Beyonce. Everything, almost, people think in order to do a thing, they have to be like at a marketable level for mass consumption. And it's like, dude, that's such bullshit. Whether it be comedy, writing, nobody starts out at that level where they just like write a draft or sing the first thing and everyone's like, here, sign here. Here's $9 million. It's like, that's an awkward slog for everybody. And again, it's like this little fucking cheat code. If you can start to enjoy that awkward slog progress and like, and working at the thing rather than like kind of the perceived benefits that come with it, dude, your life just becomes so much nicer.
Oh, dude, I can tell you, like you said, cheat code. I think it's a great terminology for this, because I can't, like, we've all had the experience where you create the pie for somebody and you don't give it to 1,000 people, you give it to one person and they're like, oh my God, like, dude, the amount of times where the dudes on this team will shoot me a message, and man, obviously you're the same thing, shoot you a message saying, hey man, what you guys talking about here, like, changed my day or changed my week, whatever it was, the little micro tweak that you guys said, I tried it and it worked. That gives me a level 10 feeling. Like, so like, if anybody's ever wanted to send me that message, please send me that message, because it makes me feel fucking phenomenal. Like, you don't need to be, I don't know, like you're saying, Beyonce, right? All you have to do is just impact one person's life. And here's the other cheat code. That person's life can be your own.
Yeah.
Where, like, you can make a piece of art and you look at it like, wow, it makes me feel good. Boom, done. Like, you just created value for one person. That person's called yourself. Like, so just get out there and create some cool shit, and you will find that it just moves the needle on happiness just ever so slightly, gives you that little bit of motivation to do it again.
Yep, dude. If you combine that with like really kind of staying in tune with your attitude and like adjusting it when necessary, you'd be surprised the doors that open to you. I hate my fucking job. Well, are you a fucking dickhead the whole time? It's like, your job might be bullshit and you might have a totally valid reason to hate it. I totally understand that. But you also don't have to be kind of like a grumpy dickhead. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, your job might suck, but you don't. So don't be a grumpy dickhead. Go find another job or figure out why it is that you have that job. And then your quest becomes changing the things that make it so that you have that job that sucks so bad that it makes you a grumpy dickhead. It sounds so easy, and I understand this, but it's either be a grumpy dickhead or take the steps necessary so you cannot be, because I don't think anybody likes to be a grumpy dickhead. So it's like, it's like, don't do that, dude. It's like, it's, I've said, again, I'm like, I sound like a broken record the amount of times I say I sound like a broken record, but like I got a taste of that like administrative, totally unfulfilling work thing and was like, nope. And it was like, dude, it was like a very dangerous 10 to 15 year quest to try to avoid that. And now I sort of I think I'm at a place where like if I had to go return to that, I think I'd be able to handle it because I think I killed a lot of demons. But like, dude, like I totally understand that trapped, horrible feeling of like, you know, being like, this is going to be my fucking life forever. It's like, it might be, but like you have way more say in that if that's the case or not than you think.
Dude, you bring up a phenomenal point, and I gotta say, my girlfriend Nicole, like what she creates in an office is just unreal. Like in anywhere, because she's like super bubbly, super happy, like you know, pretty much all the time. So even if and I give her credit because like that is not my skill set at all. Because I oftentimes get like super competitive, like just want to like kill, you know, and that in an office environment that I could see how that would not be enjoyable for some people around me. But her, like she lights up a room when she comes into it. Like, so even if it's that's what you're creating is just the experience for those people around you. Like that doesn't take money. It doesn't take anything other than just an attitude of going back to that Will Smith quote, like, you know, having a positive attitude is part of the job description. Even if that is what you're creating, that's enormous for people. Have you ever been in an office environment where it just sucks? Yes. Oh man, like when I was in New York, New York was like that. Everybody was like super competitive. Everybody was sick all the time, and everybody was just like trying to brag about how much sleep they didn't get the night before. Like when you have a bubbly personality come into that environment, you're like, wow, it's almost like a magician comes into the environment. It's like, whoa, like how'd the doves come out of that hat, you know? So like having that, if that is your skill set, that's your superpower, go out and express it to the world. So it doesn't take money, doesn't take time, doesn't take any other resources than just a smile on your face and making people laugh.
Yeah, man. Dude, that's it. You know?
Hell yeah, dude.
Dude, we'll have to hot seat someone next week, dude. We're at, I think we're coming up on 12:10 EST.
Awesome.
And I also too, I think we might have to do a thing in the Discord where, and maybe it's there, I don't know, I have to double check, but just, we got to start a thing where it's just wins, dude, where we have a streamline of people who just come in, even if it's the littlest things during the day. I mean, I know people post that in the general thing, but maybe even splintering that off to where there's a thing, if you want to check in on people's wins, it's just right there.
Dude, I think that's a perfect idea. Yeah, maybe because I have no idea how to crank those widgets on the Discord.
It's already done, bro. Troy Boy's already over, dude. It's already done.
Oh,
come on, man. This is a nation of high performers, dude. This is done.
It is, man. It is. I'm often embarrassed when I can't get something in technology to work, like on the Zoom or something. Ray quickly acknowledges that for me. But yeah, that'd be awesome. Like a place where you could just put your trophies, and then at the end of the quarter or the end of the year or half year, like we can put up all those. Because honestly, man, as men, that's what we need. We like, I think it's Coco Chanel said, men are coin operated, and I completely think that it's true. Which is like, we're pretty simple. It's like set out, accomplish something, and then like pound your chest, tell everybody else about it, and then move on to the next thing. Yeah. So yeah, why didn't we think of that earlier? That's a brilliant idea.
This is how it goes, man. But yeah, dude, I think we should do that, and I really want to figure out a way, and this will be kind of more longer term, to help really, really extend. The scorecard's fantastic. I think it's awesome. I think it's helped me tremendously. And then it's like, how can we help people translate? Because the scorecard is scorecard. You do the scorecard. How do you scorecard the other parts of your life you want to do and kind of build them in? So, but you know, I think we'll have more of that stuff too in the U. But, yeah, so definitely want to figure it out. But for now, I think people should just be sharing wins, constantly getting pumped up. Even if it's like, dude, I did 10 push-ups. You know, people do that in the general thing, but having a designated space for that, I think will pump that up.
Dude, yeah, and then we should have dude of the year, like based off of the trophies. Based off the trophies put in that winning section or the trophy section, whatever you put in the discard. Dude of the year, that'd be legit, and we got to give him something nice.
Yeah, for sure. I 100% agree. Also, Ray's shirt is done. I'm sending it out. It's pretty tight. I'll share the shirt.
It's the best shirt I've ever seen in my entire life.
It's pretty sick, dude.
It is
pretty sick. I will. I'll put the shirt design in the Discord, and Ray also too. Please send me your size. I think I know your size, but please send me the edge, and I'll send it to you.
Man,
dude.
All right, dude.
Wes, always a pleasure. I'm pumped up. What do you got to do this week, dude? Before we get off, what do you got to do?
Create, bro.
Nice.
So yeah. I got to create a presentation, and I'm still working on our video for Rhomas. So yeah, Rhomas University. I think are we completely done yet? I think we're
Yeah,
close
dude,
to being completely done.
it's ready to go. I'm finishing up like a couple little things, but it's totally fine to go live because I have plenty enough of a cushion where I can finish and it won't interrupt anything.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'd say either Friday or Monday we'll announce it. So I want to create some stuff around that, and then I'm creating a meditation video. Like
Ooh.
yeah, I'm trying to pick out the things that we talk about that are so fundamental, and trying to basically convince somebody. It's like, hey, here's why you should do meditation. Here's why it's fundamental. Here are the different types of meditation. Here's who does meditation that you might admire, etc. Like a really concise video of saying that that's evergreen that we can always reference back on it to if we need to, us and the guys.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, that'll be a long project. I'm working on that now. So yeah, man, how about you? What's going on for you?
Dude, well, I was trying to find I have a quote in my phone I want to end with, but so this week all I'm doing is finishing up the stuff for Rhomas U. That's like my top priority, and I'm like already made progress on that today, so that'll be done. I already have that's kind of a bucket. I'm writing a new story. I'm writing a story that's really it's a collection of two shorts, like not short stories. I guess it'll be short stories, but like it'll be like I'm hoping for like a 90-page. I think it's called a novella. It's a small novel, but it'll be two stories. So I'm working on that, and then just working and refinishing the audio for Logotherapy 4, and then hopefully like next week I'll have the video done for that. And now I'm hitting the workouts hard. It's 4 workouts, and I will be 175 pounds.
Hell yeah!
So. There's the goals. Dude, this is a quote I came across last night when I probably should have been sleeping, but I think it's fantastic, dude. Just tell me what you think about this. Or just end on it.
Using the final paragraph.
Hold on a second. Here we go.
The biggest danger, that of losing oneself, can pass off in the world as quietly as if it were nothing. Every other loss, an arm, a leg, $5, a wife, etc., is bound to be noticed.
Pretty cool.
I missed the first part. I couldn't really. What was
it said that I think it said something like the biggest danger of all, which is losing oneself, happens in a way that's barely noticeable to anybody. But if you lose like $5, a wife, your toe, you notice like everything else immediately. But people can kind of lose themselves by just kind of giving up.
Oh, you bastard! You would drop something like that. We could talk for like 2 hours on that topic. You just dropped it last second. Okay, that's fair.
Just end on something.
Yep, I completely agree with it, man. So, dude, awesome talking with you guys. Great seeing you guys. Go crush the week.
Later on.
Later, dudes.